Well, Dave, first, just last night you obviously told us that Shohei was only going to be pitching today. When you guys are taking into consideration just that, what did you find as just kind of the most important thing with this outing today, with you only wanting him to be the pitcher and not the DH?
I think with today, it was more of it's been like the 13 in a row. I think it's been a grind for everyone, and also you kind of take into consideration, everything that Shohei goes through on a daily basis. To know that he'll be back in the lineup tomorrow. I think this is an opportunity to kind of, hedge a little bit, play both sides, to have a guy that's swinging a good bat in Dalton, replace him for a night, to give Shohei the best opportunity to pitch well, and not take on both duties for tonight, to then just to hit tomorrow and then have an off day, and hopefully, kind of this abbreviation will get him reset, after the off day.
With Dalton, last time you did this, I think he was batting 7th. Why did you want him to bat leadoff today?
I think, he's swinging well. I didn't want to kind of tinker too much with the construction for everyone, and there weren't a whole lot of options, and I felt that, the way he's swinging the bat, I like where Haesong is at the bottom-ish, and keep him down there, and then I just felt good. I think that Dalton can handle it, yeah.
How often do you expect to do this over the course of the season?
I don't know. It's kind of read and react, I guess. I mean, looking at, we just came off 13 in a row. Dalton's swinging well. The right-handed pitcher, the day game tomorrow where I can catch him tomorrow, and all those factors kind of led it to, I can't even put a number on how many times I'm going to do it.
Obviously, it's most values to use doing both, but how do you have to balance valuing pitching at certain points versus hitting at certain points in the season, especially with what ultimately you want him to be at?
Yeah, I think the main thing is what's best for him, and I think that's something that, and that's more the health part, and appreciating that there's a long way to go. He's taking on a lot. He's starting at 6 innings pitching, and so that's kind of the main thing. Obviously, having him do both duties, theory, practice, it's great, but how sustainable is it without kind of taking a little bit off his plate a little bit? That's the question, and it's not an exact science.
So it's more about keeping him healthy and fresh rather than trying to maybe maximize his performance as a pitcher, or not have him, have to handle
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but with that, where he can just spend one night just focusing on pitching and not preparing to hit, you would think that it would only help for that particular outing.
What was his reaction?
He was fine with it. He completely understood, and I think for he and I, every decision I make with him or any of my players, they understand it's for their benefit.
When you're having that conversation with him and going through kind of the reasoning for today,
I didn't go through it with him, to be honest with you.
So is he asking at all about
No.
kind of long-term?
No, he just kind of wants, communication, and I told him, my decision, and he was okay with it and moved on, yeah.
From a team perspective, is it kind of fair to say that this time of year you can afford to not have his bat in the lineup every now and then, but you get to the stretch run, then maybe you push him to do both?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that kind of, aligns with kind of the way we look at things, and, understanding when you need to push guys and when you don't. Yeah.
He mentioned to us, he understands the bigger picture with this kind of stuff. What does it tell you that for someone who, obviously wants to push himself, he can also take a step back and see what the reasonings for these kind of things are?
Yeah, I think that, number one, there's certainly trust with the organization, with me, understanding that he's smart in the sense of being able to look a little bit beyond just today, and that takes a smart player to understand the nuances of it. And yeah, I mean, you could also argue that being fresh will allow you to perform better going forward, as opposed to just being in the game, one day and the exponential effect of, fatigue. So, I think it's a smart play.
Dave, I'm sure that the workload within the game is the most important part, but what's different about Shohei's pregame work when he's only pitching and not doing both? Like, what's taken away there?
I think the amount of preparation physically as far as on the hitting, that's one part of it. That's tangible. I think that not having to game plan for a starting pitcher is another part of the bandwidth preparation time that he doesn't need to take part in. So, it's almost like a half day for him, so I think that in itself is a win for his, mind and body.
Is he still game planning for the opposing starter even on his start days?
I don't think so. But what's interesting is that even the other day that he didn't hit, he still took swings, a couple swings, which is really ironic.
You've talked since spring about just kind of how it seems like he really kind of wants to do well pitching this year, and there's an increased emphasis on that. The fact that he's been accepting of these decisions of yours, do you think that's a reflection of that as well?
You know what? Maybe. But I think that, I think he's just smart enough to know that last year is different than this year, given he's number one, he's 2 years removed, which is a good thing. But the other part of it is that the workload is started off a lot higher. And then what's sustainable? So I think that his goal is to make every start. And so with that, there has to be some compromise and some openness to kind of read and react. And I think so far, we're doing a nice job, and he's open to that.
You've gotten to know him the last couple of years. If he was, let's just say, unhappy with this, do you think he would tell you?
I think he would do it in a respectful way. As far as I think that he felt like he could take it on. But I don't think it would certainly. But I'd like to think he would tell me if he didn't agree with it, and then there's a deeper conversation. But I think that he's just very respectful of a decision that a manager or an organization makes.
With the results that he's gotten on the mound, is this the best you've seen of Shohei Ohtani as a pitcher?
Yes, yeah, it is the best I've seen, and even when he is. I don't know what start it was. I think it was 3 starts ago. He just wasn't right in his delivery and still found a way to throw up zeros. But outside of that one, he's been pretty lights out. So this is as good as I've seen him.
In your opinion, having him just pitch like today, or having him pitch and hit on the same game, and then take a day off the next day, do you think, which do you think is like more effective in his reducing his workload?
Well, I think that's an easy answer. I think that reducing the workload, the easy answer is he just pitches and doesn't hit, and then hits the next day to reduce his workload, because he's not doing both in one night. Then but then you got to ask the question, what's better for him? What's better for the team? Layering on the rest and how he's feeling. Those are the questions that you have to ask. But yeah, clearly if he's not hitting while pitching and then not pitching and then hitting the next day, that's the easiest. But is that optimizing him? Is that what he would want to do going forward? Probably not.
Will he be on a tighter leash at all tonight since it's only 5 days of rest?
No, I feel good. I feel good. I think that even his last outing, I could have pushed him a little bit more, his last one, but knowing where he was going to slot in, I felt that I'll look at him normally, yeah.
Is there going to be a reacclimation to that for him? Because I know he did a bunch in 23, but obviously you're going to have to do that a lot more this next month with only 3 days off. So you have to get used to the 5 days rest schedule a little bit more?
I don't think so. I think it could happen. He's certainly open to it, but you know, in this particular situation, given what Tyler did and kind of how it played out, but, you know, it could flip the next time. So I'm not going to say it's the last time, but I don't know if it's going to be